Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Crockcast podcast. I'm your host, Nate, and today I'm joined by Steve of Steve Snaketuary. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you inviting me on, man.
My pleasure. So, you want to get us started off with your backstory, how you first got into reptiles, and what started the Snaketuary?
Yeah, man. So I've always been into snakes, man, even since I was real little. I used to catch little rough earth snakes and DK's brown snakes. My parents hated that, though. I used to keep a little aquarium full of those, man. My parents hated it. Saw my first king snake in the backyard. My parents moved out to the country. My dad killed a copperhead because it bit our dog. But I always had a fascination for snakes, man. It was always something I was always interested in. I was always, just like I said, fascinated by them. But once I got married, my wife was real supportive. She let me buy a little corn snake. One turned to two, two to four, and so on and so on. I hooked up with 911 dispatch somewhere down the line because I'm a firefighter in advanced EMT. And so 911 will call me out for any time somebody calls about a snake. Hooked up with animal control somewhere down the line. Just one thing led to another, man, and it eventually just kind of grew and blew up and exploded into a business. So,
Okay. And we were talking the other day about scheduling this, and you had to actually make a run to
mhm.
pick some stuff up. So you want to
Yeah,
talk about the work entailed with running the Sanctuary?
man, it's a lot of work. I'm a firefighter in advanced EMT also, and so I basically have two full-time jobs. If I'm not doing my firefighter thing, then I'm doing stuff for the Snaketuary. I'm either running snake calls or setting up presentations. We get anywhere between 400 and 500 reptile calls every year. That's trying to go out and get wild ones out of people's houses or people turning in their pets because they can't take care of them anymore. We do presentations at libraries and schools. We have homeschool groups that come over all the time. We do birthday parties. So it's busy, man. So yeah, we had to go pick up yesterday. Drove. It was 4 hours there and 4 hours back to pick up several reptiles. And so yeah, we get calls all the time. People, they'll end up getting them as pets, or they'll get them for their kids or something like that, and then they either get bored with them or don't realize how long they can live. So they'll end up calling us and saying, "Hey, we can't take care of it." So they'll surrender the reptile to us.
Okay. And do you have any sort of process of finding new homes for animals at the sanctuary, or do you permanently keep everything that comes in the
Yeah,
door?
we permanently all the pets that people turn into us, we permanently keep. We don't rehome those for several reasons. The main reason is when people call us, they're expecting us to take care of the reptile. They're not expecting us to, find a new home for it. They want a permanent home. They want to know it's going to be well taken care of. And so that's the main reason. But also we don't want to rehome something that could be sick or have something potentially wrong with it. I don't want to be held responsible for that. I don't want somebody to call me and say, hey, I'm looking for a bearded dragon or a ball python, and I rehome one that I've taken in and there's something wrong with it. I just don't want to have that responsibility. But yeah, there's a couple of reasons that we permanently keep the ones that we take in. Now, as far as the wild caught stuff, I don't keep all the wild caught stuff. Um, I do hold a lot back because we have so many presentations and we work on movie sets also. So I don't, they'll call me. They've called me several times for like 20 rat snakes or 10 rattlesnakes or whatever for movie sets. And if I give all my stuff out for a movie set, then I'm not going to have anything for presentations. So I hold a lot of the wild caught stuff back, but I don't keep all of that. So there's a lot of the wild caught stuff, we'll take and we'll re-release those. But
Okay. And how many reptiles would you say you currently have?
oh, we have a couple hundred of them. So I kind of lose count sometimes. I've got somebody bringing over another retic later on today. So we're constantly adding. Like I said, I picked 5 up yesterday. I had an issue this morning. I was supposed to go this morning to go pick up another iguana, but that kind of fell through. But like I said, I've got somebody bringing over another retic tonight. So it's constantly growing. Yeah. So I kind of lost track a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Uh, okay. What's some of the, I guess, more impressive species that are currently kept at the sanctuary?
Um, There's a lot that always freaks people out. I've got several different types of like vipers and things that people have never seen before. I do have a couple of cobras that always impresses people. Of course, we've got all the Burmese, the retics. It's pretty much you name it, I've got it pretty much. Of course, there's some weird ones that I don't have, like a sea snake or a golden lance head. Something that's kind of rare like that. But like I said, the cobras always impress people. And then sometimes, man, just even the smallest ones can impress people. They're just they haven't seen. There's a lot of times, especially the kids. They may have seen them on TV, but they've never actually seen one in person. So that's another reason we keep so many of them too, because you never know what somebody's never seen before or actually experienced firsthand. So
Okay. And we say the bulk of the collection is snakes, or are there any other types of reptiles?
mostly snakes, yeah, but we've got a bunch of different kinds of lizards and tortoises also. So we deal with pretty much every reptile, pretty much.
Okay. And uh, where is the sanctuary located?
We're in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay. I was about to ask what the exotic laws in Louisiana are that you're allowed, if you have to get all the proper permits, stuff like that, for like your big pythons and the venomous.
Oh yeah. So I've gotten my permits every year. It's weird. Louisiana's weird. So they did just pass, like in December, I think is when they actually passed it. I think it went into effect either January or first part of February. They changed all of the laws. There was a lot of, I've always gotten it was a restricted snake permit through Wildlife and Fisheries. And then that's what changed in the last couple of months. So they made a lot more reptiles restricted, I guess. They've banned a lot of reptiles, which in my opinion was completely unnecessary. We don't have the issues like any other places have. It's not people letting their pets go and all that. All that stuff's kind of blown out of proportion. But they did pass the laws where they banned and restricted a lot of reptiles. Um, and so, but I still get my permits every year through them. And what's weird about Louisiana is not only do you have to have the permit through the state, each parish has their own laws. So I'm in Caddo Parish. In Caddo Parish, you have to have a separate permit through the local animal control. And I get that every year. But then the next parish over in Bossier Parish doesn't allow any of the big snakes. They don't issue permits, period. And so it's kind of weird, man. So you can have your state permit, but the parish permit, you may or may not be able to get that. And that's something that people don't understand. They don't realize, they don't know, is that, each parish is different. And so they go get a snake, they get excited to get a pet reptile, but then come to find out they can't actually have it. And that can cause a lot of issues. So yeah, it's kind of weird here.
Yeah. That's, so kind of like, yes, well, kind of like Texas and South Carolina, but not where Texas, South Carolina don't have really anything on the state level laws, but they do have all the county regulations.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas sounds like Louisiana has state regulations plus, depending on county, a bunch of extra county regulations as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that a fair assessment?
Yep.
Okay. So I gotta ask, how often do you get calls for someone trying to surrender a venomous snake?
Not too often. Of course, I have people that find copperheads or water moccasins or rattlesnakes on their property that we'll have to, remove. I'm really careful not to. I got to be careful how to say this, I guess, too. With the venomous, because some people are just so adamant about killing snakes. They don't care what kind it is. They want to kill it. And I hate seeing reptiles die. So a lot of the venomous, if I get calls for those, I kind of hold those back. But then as far as the exotic venomous, I've got connections. And there's been several times when I've worked on a movie set, and there's two other guys that I work with on the movie sets with the snakes across the country. And there's been times when I've worked on a movie set and one of the guys brought another snake. That's how I got two of the cobras that I have. They were like, "Hey, I really don't want the snake back. You can take it." So there's been a couple of times where that's happened, where I've been on a movie set and I've gotten them that way. But yeah, I've got friends, got connections.
Okay. So I've heard first about you through the Herpeticulture podcast through your Venom hot sauce.
Oh yeah,
I've always
yeah.
heard great things about it. Still have to get some, but I've always heard great things about it. So you want to go a little bit how you first came up with this idea for fundraising?
Oh yeah, man. So I'm a huge hot sauce fan, man. I got cabinets full of hot sauce. And in the herpeticulture community, venomous snakes are considered hot snakes. And I figured, well, I like hot sauce and I keep hot snakes, so why not hot snakes hot sauce? So I worked with a professional chef. We tailored the heat levels and the flavors to the types of venomous snakes that we have. So we actually have 6 different flavors. We've got the copperhead, the cottonmouth, the canebrake, coral snake, and uh, and I've just gone blank. But the antivenom, of course, is the hottest. And then we got the pygmy rattlesnake. And we made the antivenom the hottest because antivenom's got to be stronger than venom, right? So
Yeah.
we made that one the hottest one. So yeah, we've got 6 different flavors. There, it's not. Some people think it's a little gimmicky hot sauce, but it's not. It's we like I said, it's small batch. I worked with a professional chef on it, so it's really flavorful. We didn't just go straight up heat with everything either. We tailored, we balanced the heat with the flavor, and like I said, we tailored the heat levels and the flavors to the types of snakes. So it is all snake themed, and like I said, all the sales of our hot sauce do go back into the reptile rescue. So it all supports our stuff that we do here at Snaketuary.
Okay. And how can people find where to purchase that?
They can go to our website, man. I've got all the stuff listed on our website. They can either email me at info@snaketuary.com. My personal cell phone number is out there on the website at snaketuary.com. You guys can call me, text me, email me, and we'll hook you up.
Okay. So with your collection, what would you say is the thing you're most proud of achieving with your collection and your the sanctuary?
Man, I think the thing I'm most proud of is when we get to go out every year and we help change lives. We help get people over their fear of snakes. Our mission statement is to eliminate fear through education and bring peace through rescue. And so for us to go out and be able to change people's lives, change their perception of snakes. I've had a lot of people tell me, hey, years ago I went to one of your presentations. I hated snakes. I was definitely afraid of them. And now we actually have one as a pet. That's one of our one thing that I would say is our greatest achievement, is changing people's perception of them and getting people over their fear. All the myths and misconceptions and things about snakes, we get to talk about that. We get to eliminate those. And then to actually go out to somebody's house. This has happened numerous times too, when I get over to their house and they are in the car with their bags packed, ready to go stay at a hotel because there's a snake in the house. And I go in there and I remove the snake and I get to sit there and talk to them and educate them about snakes. And then, it brings them that peace. And so they're able to say, okay, now we don't have to go stay at a hotel. The situation's safe. We understand it now, and we could stay in our own home. So I think those are our greatest achievements.
Right. Oh, a question I forgot I was planning to ask, but well, not really a question, but a statement. It's funny that you work with hot sauce, considering how another famous hot sauce guy, Robert McElhaney, the Tabasco hot sauce,
Mm-hmm.
was one of the first biologists to do a lot of work on alligators, of all things.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's like if I had a nickel for two famous herpers who do hot sauce, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird to have it twice.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
and well, you're in Louisiana, in Shreveport. Do you see a lot of gators around that neck of the woods, or are they more remote parts?
Yeah, I've actually had several calls for alligators too. But there's only a handful of people that's a whole separate permitting system. And there's only like a handful of people in Louisiana that have got permits to deal with alligators. And so I've gotten calls for them, but I can't actually do anything with them. I kind of had to sit there and wait till somebody else comes. So
About all advice you can say is here's someone else's number.
Yep. Yeah.
So.
There's I've gone out on a couple, but like I said, I just kind of have to sit there and wait. So I'll watch the alligator, try to keep people away from it, but I can't even touch it. So Yeah, that's a whole sticky situation there.
Yeah, I can imagine. So do you do any herping in your free time?
Oh yeah. Is a lot of times during the summer, especially at night if I'm not working, I'll go road cruising, look for stuff on the roads. I've got a couple of places. I don't like to give away my locations, but I got a couple of locations that I go and check out, try to find some snakes and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. I could spend hours out there in the woods and driving up and down back roads and things like that looking for herps. Man, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
All right. Uh, so with the large constrictors, not actually. Let's go back to herping. What are some of the most common things you find while herping in Louisiana?
The most common,
Let me guess. Cottonmouth.
well, no, actually, copperheads. A lot of times, I see a lot of copperheads, especially at night, driving down the roads. I get calls for rat snakes a lot. Rat snakes and water snakes. We've got three different water snakes here. We've got the plain bellies, the diamondbacks, excuse me, and the bandeds. And I get calls for those a lot. But driving up and down the roads, I see a lot of copperheads. I'll tell you an interesting story, man. So years ago, I used to always think red and yellow kill a fella, red and black good for Jack, right? That's what
Yeah.
we're all told. But of course, you can't go by that. That's you can use it as a general rule, but you can't always go by that, right? So, but that's what I thought of when I was first really getting into this. I usually keep stuff in my car in case I run across something, or if I go out on a snake call, I usually keep pillowcases or containers or something in my car. Well, I'm road cruising real late at night with my daughter, and we're driving up down the roads, and we're talking. Well, my supervisor at the time had called me. I'm on the phone in a very serious conversation with my supervisor, and I see the red, black, and yellow in the road. I didn't care if it was a coral snake or milk snake. It didn't matter. I wanted it, right? And I needed one for my presentations. And so I threw the car in park, jumped out. I'm still on the phone with my supervisor. I'm running down the road, and I'm thinking to myself, and again, here's where all that learning comes in. You have to grow. I always tell people this too. There may be something that you you know of, but if you're not constantly learning, if you're not constantly growing and trying to perfect what you're doing, you can make a lot of mistakes. And so, and again, I was always told a coral snake has to chew on you to inject its venom. So I'm thinking, okay, well, if it starts to chew on me, I've got time to pull it off, and which was stupid. Okay, I always tell everybody to learn from my mistakes. And so I'm running, I grab it, and I'm running back to the car. I had told my daughter to find something. We could not find any containers to put it in. The only thing she found was an empty Snapple bottle. And so she opens the Snapple bottle, and I go to stick it in the Snapple bottle, and it turns around and it starts chewing on me. And I'm freaking out. Now, granted, I'm still on the phone with my supervisor at the time. I threw the phone in the floorboard at that point, grab the snake, pull it off of me, throw it in the Snapple bottle, close the Snapple bottle up, and I start driving home. I forgot about the phone. Just forget the phone at that point. And it was probably 15, 20 minutes at least till we got back home. And so by that time, I calmed myself down, and because I kind of understood, you get your heart rate up, it's going to pump everything through your body faster. I kind of understood that, but get home and realize it's only a milk snake. So thankfully, it wasn't a coral snake. Um, but again, number one, just to emphasize, you can't always go by the red, black, and yellow because those colors can be mixed up and all that stuff. There's things that break that rule. But also, I learned after that, a coral snake doesn't have to chew on you to inject its venom just because it has smaller fangs. They're up front, they're fixed fangs. They're not hinged like the other venomous that we have, and they don't have to chew on you. Like I said, they can bite and inject venom, pretty quickly. And but thankfully, like I said, everybody needs to learn from my mistakes. So since then, I've learned more. I've grown. I've gotten different things that I use. I've got the Snake Professional gloves, which they say are not bite proof. They're bite resistant. And I always use hooks and tongs and things that I use for that, for the venomous. So learn from my mistakes. Everybody, please learn from my mistakes. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of stories, stuff like that's happened to me throughout the years, man. But yeah, so as far as herping, man, a lot of times, most of the stuff that I see just out, I see a lot of copperheads on the road at night, and then I get calls for water snakes and rat snakes a lot. So those are the most common ones I see.
Okay. So, going to go on a limb here and say you haven't been tagged by anything venomous yet.
Not without those gloves that I have. I've had some close calls. I've had several venomous bite those gloves. Not on purpose. And I need to say this too. I don't just use those gloves from Snake Professional. You know, I use those in conjunction with the hooks and tongs. But you know, things can happen. I've had them when I'm opening the cage, shoot out around the glass. So I've had some close calls. I did have I had some rattlesnakes one time. This is before we changed a lot in the room, but I had them in the older glass containers, like cages with the flip lids, the screen lids, and the rattlesnakes jumped up and hit the top of the cage, and the venom sprayed out of the cage onto my face. And a little bit did get in my eye. And I remember a friend telling me years ago that he had a friend that got some venom in his eye and he got partially blind. So I started freaking out because it did burn. It actually burned a little bit, but thankfully, you know, my vision wasn't affected. So I've had some close calls with venomous, but I'm always really careful. I use those gloves are just an added layer of protection. But I always use hooks and tongs. I'm always real careful with that stuff. I don't, of course, I'd never free handle anything. And I don't just get the venomous out just to get them. The only time I'm getting those out is if I'm doing a presentation or if I'm feeding or cleaning cages and stuff like that. So I always try to be real careful. I do also want to mention I do have bite protocols set up in place in case anything ever happened. I've got the big book from Joe Pittman, I believe, was the one that did it. The big bite protocol book. It's got all the venom and anti-venom information in it for all the snakes. I've got numbers to poison control. I've got numbers for Spencer Green. I've got numbers for the Snake Bite Foundation. I've got all that stuff laid out. I've got everything, all the cages labeled. So if anything ever happened, all you have to do is rip that label off of the cage and take that book. I've talked to Dr. Thomas Arnold. He's the leading toxicologist here in Louisiana. And the hospital that he works at is less than 10 minutes away from me. He knows what I keep. I've talked to him a couple of times. So I've got things set up in place in case anything did happen. It's good to go. We're ready, ready for anything to happen. So God forbid anything happens, but if it does, we're ready. So
yeah, that's actually a really good example to set for other people who try to keep venomous versus the other side of venomous keepers who, well, it's been beat by dead horse, but that one jerk over in South Carolina is ruining it for everyone else.
Yep, exactly. And it's just me, I look at it like, not just me here to educate everybody, but I understand that there are people that look at what I do, and I have to understand that I'm an example to other people, and people look up to me. So I don't want to do things the wrong way. I want to do everything the right way, and I don't want to mess everything up for the whole community, for the whole reptile community. You know what I mean? And then even on top of that, me being a firefighter, advanced EMT, people look up to me that way also. You know what I mean? So I don't want to. I don't want to do things the wrong way. I need to set the right example for everybody else. And so that's why I always set those precautions in place and try to follow the rules and take that extra step.
Yeah. So I gotta ask, when that milk stick was shooting on you and you threw it in the Snapple bottle, did the bottom of the Snapple bottle read "Red on Yellow, Kill a Fellow"? Or?
Yeah, no, didn't read that. No. Yeah, it like I said, man, that was just that was a very, very interesting experience, man. It was a very, very good learning experience too. So
Yeah.
There's been times, not just because of that incident, but there's been times when I've gone out on a call, it's just a water snake or just a rat snake, and I still put the gloves on just in case. And I just don't want to make that mistake. I don't want to be too quick. I don't want to be in such a hurry that I just make that small mistake. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'll just throw those gloves on just in case.
Yeah. I was gonna say I've spent some time in East Texas, and those plain belly, yellow belly, whatever you want to call
Mhm.
them, from up top they look almost spitting identical to a cottonmouth. So
Yep.
it can be pretty easy to make a little mistaken identity when you first go to retrieve one.
Right. Yeah, of course, those water snakes. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood to get bit. I don't, I don't mind getting bit, by non-venomous, but sometimes just not in the mood. So put the gloves on anyway. You know what I mean? So because those water snakes, they like to bite quite a bit.
So, are there any places that you would want to go herping in your life that you haven't gone to yet?
Oh
And
man, I would. Yeah, I would. I've always wanted to go to Australia, and I've always wanted to go to Africa. Always. I just think it'd be so awesome to see all the wildlife over there. I know they've got a lot more dangerous stuff over there, but like I said, man, it would just be nice. It'd be nice. But even keeping it at home, I would still love to go to West Texas. Just to see all the rattlesnakes. We've got the cane brakes and the pygmies here, but it's not. I think in West Texas, I'd see a lot more.
yeah, more diamondbacks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh, and in terms of your collection, is there anything that you don't have in your collection that you would want to keep someday?
Yeah, there's a
Or you
couple.
just have
Yeah.
something right now. You're like, I'm good for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm happy. I would always want more. I still have not. I still have yet to see a stiletto snake. I would at least like to see one up close. I understand how dangerous they are. I understand, the risks that are involved. But I think a stiletto snake would be nice to see. Still have yet to see one of those.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's maybe a couple of different morphs or something like that. Maybe there's a couple of exotics, like a lance head, golden lance head, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? It'd be nice to have those. I understand the rarity of them or the protected species and things like that. And again, I'm not going to do anything illegal. But I think, some of those protected species, that I haven't seen yet, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So like someone called you up saying, "Hey, I have a black-headed bushmaster.
Yeah.
I need to surrender." You're like, "I'm on my way right now."
Yeah. And that's always, I've kind of had to, I mean, like I said, we still get hundreds of calls every year, but I'm trying to be, I've learned things throughout the years, because people misidentify snakes all the time. People all the time, still to this day, people will call me and say they have a nest of copperheads, and it's just those rough earth snakes or DK's brown snakes. So I always try to get a picture beforehand. A lot of times they're too scared to take a picture or something like that. I did a video on this either last year or year before last on, there's a big black snake in my yard. Well, that doesn't tell me anything. And so in the YouTube video I did, I showed several snakes that are black around here, like the rat snakes. We have mud snakes, we've got racers, we have several different snakes that can be black. And so just telling me you have a big black snake in your yard doesn't tell me anything. So yeah, snakes get misidentified all the time. I had a lady a couple of years ago, she said she had a big huge anaconda in her pool. And I'm thinking, okay, so I'll rush over there. It's just a DK's brown snake, and those are only a couple of inches, So, she thought it was an anaconda. She swore up and down it was an anaconda. I mean, this wasn't just being funny. She was dead serious. But to get over there and see a snake that's 4 or 5 inches long, So, yeah,
Like, I
man.
got the wrong set of the hooks for that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So have you done out? I know we just talked about herping trips would want to do sometime, but have you done any herping trips in the past?
With other people, like somewhere exotic or
Anywhere, anything?
Well, I mean, like I said, I've got a couple places here that I go out by myself. But I haven't done any big group herping trips, and I haven't done anything exotic. And I honestly, I haven't done anything. I don't think I've done anything out of town. So, yeah, somebody needs to set that up. Somebody needs to call me, man. We need to set up a herping trip somewhere else, man.
Yeah,
I know there are groups that do it, and this is the thing too, man. It's being I don't just do the Snaketuary. You know what I'm saying? I'm firefighter advanced EMT too, and that schedule is so weird. It's half days and half nights, and most of the time I'm taking my vacation time to do presentations. There's times, for a library, they may want a presentation on a certain day and they can't change it, and I don't want to turn anybody down for a presentation. I've had to do that, and I don't like doing that. So I'm using my vacation time for presentations. So I don't. That's the hard thing too. I don't have any free time, so to speak, to go out of town and go just do a herping trip. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
that's something that makes things hard on me too. So
Okay. All right. And what are some ways people could possibly help with the Snaketuary, other than buying lots and lots of hot sauce?
yeah, we've got a lot of other products that are available. You can go to our website and you can check out those products. We've got shirts. I've got auto drawings that I did that I autograph you for you. We put out about 2 years ago. We put out an educational card deck. So and a lot of people don't know about this. So it's got a lot of the local. Well, right now we just did a lot of the local Louisiana snakes. It's got a picture of the snake on the front with the common name and the Latin name. And then on the back of the card, it's got information about that snake. And there's 3 different colors. The green snakes are the non-venomous, the yellow is mildly venomous, and then the red are venomous. So we've got the educational card deck that we do. Of course, we've got shirts, and of course the hot sauce. So we've got several different products they can check out on our website. If you go to snaketuary.com, you can always just donate to us. We also have a Patreon page, and we have an Amazon wish list. All of that stuff, you can go to our store page on our website, and all of that stuff's listed. We're trying to do we're going to start doing something a little bit different this year. So we worked it all out. There was a lot of stuff we had to work out with our insurance company, as far as volunteering and people coming over and helping. We're going to start it off the first part of March. I've got some people that are doing a school project, and so they're going to come over and shadow. And so we're going to try to start working out this year to where people can come over and volunteer and help us out. I will tell everybody this though. It's not just going to be playing with animals the whole time. Some of it's going to be the dirty side of reptile keeping. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that people, So, cleaning out cages, feeding reptiles, things like that. So it's not just getting the animals out and playing with them. So we want to have things like that to where we can get people involved. If they want to be a herpetologist as they get older, if they want to work with animals in biology and things like that, it'll be like a more of an in-depth look at studying reptiles and keeping reptiles and things like that. So we're going to start that this year too. So we're going to have more opportunities for people to help here. So yeah, we've got several different ways that people can help us out.
All right. And you've obviously lost surrendered animals. So what's some advice you would give to people who are looking into getting a reptile so that they won't have to or want to surrender that animal sometime in the near future?
Definitely do your research beforehand. I'm going to be perfectly honest with everybody. I've done a lot. Now, I had people teach me stuff beforehand. There were several people that I talked to. I had a lot of mentors before I got into reptiles and right when I got into them. So I did have people help me. That's another thing too. But I did learn a lot by trial and error, and I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that at all. So definitely do your research beforehand. Find a mentor, somebody that can help you out, walk you through things, answer any questions that you may have about keeping them. Find out the specific reptile that you want to get, because there's different temperature gradients, there's different humidity requirements, there's different lighting requirements depending on what reptile you want to get. So definitely do your research, read all the books, all of them. I'd be careful though. You know, I'm kind of a stickler. I know some people in the reptile community are, some people aren't, as far as venomous, poisonous, that kind of thing. I'm kind of a stickler on that. So, you know, some of the older books, of course, I recommend reading everything. I'm an avid reader. But some of the older books could have some misinformation in them. So be careful about that. Be careful about online stuff. Everybody's got their own opinion. I see that I'm in several reptile groups online, and it is insane how vicious people can be online. So be careful about that. Be very
Yeah,
careful.
reptile Facebook groups, the 21st century equivalent of the gladiatorial arena.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, you can get information from groups. I'm not saying don't join groups. There's things that I've learned from groups. Just be careful. Like I said, everybody's got their own opinion, but find yourself a good mentor. Read all the books, read all the articles, watch all the videos. But again, keep in mind that everybody's got their own opinion about stuff. So what might work for you may not work for somebody else. So you might get advice from somebody and it works great for them, but it doesn't work for somebody else, you know, for you. So just kind of keep that in mind too. But definitely do all the studying, all the reading, read all the books, watch all the videos, but find yourself a mentor, somebody that can walk you through the steps and do your study beforehand.
All right. And we already mentioned you can find your website.
Mhm.
You want to just give your website again real quick?
Yeah, just go to snaketuary.com. That's SNAKETUARY.com.
And where
And
can
you
people
got,
find you on social media?
man, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube. If the easiest thing to do is just go to our website at snaketuary.com. I've got all of my social media links all over the website, at the top and bottom of the website. And like I said, look, my personal cell phone number is out there on the website. If anybody's got questions, they can always call me or text me. I tell everybody 24/7. It's because I basically don't sleep. So yeah, any questions anybody's got, if they want to hit me up, just call me or text me or whatever. And like I said, all of our social media links are all over the website. That's the easiest place to go to find out everything.
All right. Well, with that, I think it's a good place to call it. So thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man.